Alright, good afternoon, YouTube. I got a 2007 Dodge Ram 1500. I've been having issues with my radio. I got an aftermarket Pioneer. I've also got dual amplifiers, front and rear, for the subwoofers and for the door speakers. And the issue I've been running into is that my battery keeps dying from the radio shorting out. Every day I have to come out here and I have to pull this fuse in the morning, put it back in the afternoon when I get to work, and vice versa. Otherwise I have a dead battery. So I'm going to be installing a tablet as a radio. I can get by with this since that amplifier down there is only for the door speakers, since I have aftermarket door speakers. And like I said, I have another amplifier back here that is only for the subwoofers. So since I have two amplifiers and the only thing coming out of the radio is the RCA cables, I can get by with putting a tablet. So I've never done this before. This is going to be a first attempt. The things I got for this is, one, I got me a good sized tablet that's not going to take up too much space. Sorry about the interruption there. Got someone mowing the grass. I got me a tablet mount. This tablet mount I got off of Amazon. It'll handle up to like a 10-inch or 12-inch tablet. This is on the 8-inch, so I'm going to be fine. Got a bag of splitters, a inline audio booster. I don't know if the tablet is going to have enough audio output to power everything in the truck, especially with the splitters I'm going to use, along with the male-to-male pieces. So I don't want to put a strain on the audio of the tablet, and I also don't want to make it to where the tablet doesn't have enough power to power everything, and I'm having to have the volume all the way up. One other thing I'm going to do is I do not want to have to use the volume buttons on the tablet to turn it up and down. I want to be able to max out the volume on the tablet or have it at the top of the safe area and not be using that. Well, normally the radio would take care of that. So the other piece that I'm going to be installing is a audio controller. This is going to be in line from between the booster and the amplifiers. This is going to allow me to control the volume just like if you had a volume knob on your radio. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing the old radio. Since I'm going to be doing the tablet, and I'm not going to be using the power for the radio, because I think what's killing my battery is the radio is shorted out. And there's no point in buying another expensive radio whenever I can be using a tablet and it'll make a nice screen display anyway. So I'm going to remove this out, and then I'll bring y'all back and we will see about mounting it in there and removing the wiring harness. Alright, so we got the old radio out. Got my dash bezel down there out of the way. This is the remote wire, or the audio level wire for my amplifier, so I can adjust the gain up and down. What we have going on in here, this is the factory wiring harness. This is the adapter you get from Walmart or Amazon, eBay, whatever, to adapt it to where it works with a regular radio. That's what these three wires here are, and then all the speaker wires right there. Now what I have done for my amplifier for the door speaker, so that I wouldn't have to run new wires to every speaker, is I hooked this wiring harness into here, but I have my audio out for my speakers, which is right here. These are the these two right here. So they go into those splitters that are already in place. This blue tag for me represents the left speaker, but I have these going into here to make those go into one, and then these right here are for my amplifier. Well, what I have going on is I ran the audio out down to the amp, and then I have the amp, after it amplifies the speakers, I have it coming back up into here, and I have it tied in back in here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. I'm gonna try. See those gray cables? Those are the ones coming off of my amplifier down here, so that it basically just amped the wire, or the power going through the speaker wires. So I've got that running back out. So I have to leave this connected. The way I have my system done, I have to leave this connected for my door speakers to work. But I can tuck it down. I'm not going to be hooking the radio into here. This is the radio wiring harness that came with the Pioneer radio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working on my mount here. And I bought this mount because this one has a dual swivel. Let me show you right here. This has a dual swivel. So basically after you mount the plate, that moves, and then this moves. The more swivels you have, the more area you're going to be able to move it around. And what my worry is one, I didn't know what was going on back here. I couldn't remember. I can't screw the thing into here. That's way too thin, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, that is the air duct for my vents. So I don't want to screw into that. It's not going to hold any weight. So I'm going to put it into this metal bar here. I'm going to put it in, I'm going to self-tap screw it into here. Well, if I wasn't using one that had multiple swivels on it, it would come straight out. I could move it up and down. And I might be able to move it left and right for a little bit, but there wouldn't be a lot of movement in it. And my worry with that is that I'm still going to have the hole here for the radio and the bezel. I'm still going to have that hole. I'm not going to be getting rid of it. And I've seen YouTube videos where the people put the tablet behind the radio or behind the bezel and everything, and it looks really nice and pretty. But the problem is with that, I'm going to be hooking this into where the truck coming off and on turns the charger off and on. Well, if you don't drive your truck for a couple of weeks or drive your vehicle for a couple of weeks or something, and the battery dies on the tablet, what they didn't realize in their video is that you have to pull your whole bezel back off so you can reach back there and hit the power button on your tablet to turn it back on. So kind of a flaw there, unless they came up with a way around it, but I don't think there is one. So I'm going to mount mine on the outside of the bezel. I'm just going to have it sitting so close to it that you're not going to be able to see the hole in the bezel down there. So by using that bracket, that other one, it's going to give me free range to where I can make it sit perfectly over the hole, cover the hole completely, and I don't have to worry about, oh dadgummit, I didn't put those screws in the right place. It was supposed to be an inch over this way to make it work. So I'm going to continue on with that. If I don't have any self-tapping screws, I'm going to be coming back to the video. I'm going to show you how I'm going to be wiring it up instead, and I'm going to have to make a run to get some screws, and we'll finish that part up later. One cable I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video because I already had it was this one here. It is an RCA in for the tablet for the headphone jack, and then it gives you an RCA left and right output. So that's going to plug into the tablet. It's going to come out and go into the booster here. The booster, I'm going to max out those two knobs and then turn them back a quarter of a turn. That way that it's not completely maxed out, but I'm getting everything out of the booster I probably can. This is where I used two of the male connectors. It was male, so I connect these two females together. This is that goes into the volume control knob. This is where I'm going to mount right underneath the radio, so I have the volume control. And then from there, this isn't pretty, but no one's going to see it. It's all going to be behind the dash. It's electrician's nightmare, or audio nightmare. But anyway, like I said, I always use the clear, or I always use the off color or the lighter color for white. So I know that's a white, that's a red, white, red. So on my splitters here, this one is the white split out, and I want to have dual going back to the sub because I don't want bass to be hitting on one side or the other and not hear it. So that's why I want to have both of them going to the sub. This striped wire is for my subwoofers. This white is going to the white, of course. This one is the white half of the splitter going down to those other two wires. This is the red side, which I've got the dark for the red. This one is the blue tape for the red on the other side. So that's split out going down to those to split those, because this is a 4-channel amplifier. It's got 2 ends on red, 2 ends on white. So that's how I've got it going. Luckily my buddy is bringing me some self-tapping screws so I can mount the mount to that bar back there. But the wiring is pretty much done. What I've got to do now, or as far as the audio hookups is done, what I have to do now is hook in the amp signal wire. It's also called the remote wire. I got to hook that in to the ignition. I've got to hook the booster into the ignition. And then I'm going to have to hook in the tablet to the ignition. Now for the tablet, what I'm going to do, I kind of briefly said it earlier, I'm going to run a wire down to this cigarette lighter. That's what this is. I'm going to run the positive down to this one because this one comes on with the key. This one does not. This one is on all the time. So the reason I want to use this one is because what I want to happen is whenever the key gets turned on, it powers up the tablet. And you can turn your tablet on to where whenever it is powered on, the screen will stay on. So you don't have to worry about going into standby mode, sleep mode, or anything like that, to where you're having to double tap or hit the power button or anything like that to turn it back on. Then when you turn your vehicle off and your tablet is no longer charging, it will turn it off. So everything will shut off on it. The only thing I'm going to have to do to make sure of is to turn off the tablet to hit like pause or hit stop on it. But it doesn't really matter, because when the car goes off, this signal wire is going to turn off the amplifiers anyway. So I don't really have to worry about that. And a tablet phone, as you know, will last a couple of hours, or excuse me, a couple of days on a full charge. So I don't have to worry about the tablet dying while I'm at work. I drive my truck every day. If I let it sit for a couple of days, I may have an issue, but all I gotta do is let it charge up a second and then power it on. So, okay, quick update. I did not end up mounting it to that pole back there because it was going to be a long stretch to get it all the way out, and we were having a hard time finding screws. So we came up with an alternative. We mounted it to the plate over there, and it's still going to be right about perfect where it needs to be. It's going to come right out the hole, and this is going to take some fine tuning. I've still got it loose so I can move it around, but once we get this to where it comes out of the bezel down there and it sits flush, then we're going to hard crank down on all those knobs back there to make everything nice and solid. So now we are about to go ahead and hook all the wires in. Like I said earlier, we got to hook this wire, the wire for the power for the tablet, and then this power wire here for the booster. We got to hook that into the key, and after that we're going to do a test run. Okay, so we just finished wiring in. I've already turned the screws up on that all the way and then backed them off a quarter turn. It's got an inline fuse to protect it. Once again, it doesn't look pretty, but that is the remote wire for the amp, the power for the booster, the ground for the booster. I've got those two wires run back down, and I tapped them into this cigarette lighter. Neither one of them are going to be pulling much power, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. But I hooked them into this one because, like I said, this one comes on with the key. That one stays on all the time. So that's why I use this one. That way the amp will come on and it will power up the tablet. And I'm going to use this to plug the tablet into a little charger. So that's where the tablet's going to plug into, and everything's going to come off of that, and it's not going to draw much power. So next update will be us putting the plugging the tablet in and making sure that it powers up the way it's supposed to, and make sure that the amp and everything gets the signal from the key coming on. And well, I mean, we can go ahead and try that now, I guess. Key on. Oh, you see the lights on there? That means that the ignition, or that means that the key is turning the amp off and on. The key's off, there goes the amp. So that means that that's working, and this doesn't have any lights or anything on it, so there's no way to tell if this is working until we plug it in. So we're about to get the rest of the tablet hooked up and see what happens. Okay, so we do not have the tablet mounted yet. We do not have the power hooked into it yet, but we do have, let me turn on the song. This is the volume knob. Whoop. That was the volume knob for the radio. And you can see how little. Sorry for the distortion of the subs. But as you can see, it doesn't take much volume to get that thing going. So we're going to adjust the booster a little bit. Turn it down just a little bit, because I want to have to turn that knob a little bit more than right there, because I'm afraid I'm going to blow it if I don't. And then the other thing we're going to do is we might try and adjust the way that these are split back here, to where the subs are not tampered with by the volume control for the regular radio. The subs will be on their own. So we're going to give that a shot and see how that comes out. Okay, so we are going to leave it the way it is, with it splitting after coming out of the boost, or excuse me, out of the volume knob down there. We are going to have it stay splitted up here. We tried splitting it after the booster and having the sub knob, which is down there in that little panel down there. We tried having it split here to where the bass and the speakers were on two different knobs. But whenever we did that, just for FYI, we couldn't get the bass down low enough whenever it wasn't being, when we had the knob all the way down, we still heard bass, so we had to lower the bass on the amp. And when we did that to where it wasn't hitting, when we turned the bass all the way up, it wasn't hitting the way it used to. So we wanted to leave that alone. So that's all hooked up right. We're about to hook in the charger to that piece right there. We're going to put the bezel back on, and we're going to get this thing set in and out correctly. We're going to maneuver it to where It covers up the hole in the radio right there. Sorry, one other note I wanted to make. The only feature that I'm going to temporarily lose by doing this is the AM/FM antenna. They don't have an adapter that I know of, or that I have bought yet, that will adapt this into the tablet. Now what they do have is a adapter where you can hook it into a headphone jack. Just like when you try to use AM/FM on your radio or on your tablet, your phone or whatever, and it says that you can't, it needs your headphones using it as an antenna. Well, they make a little antenna that will hook into the headphone jack. Well, I have a splitter. I'm not sure if I have it in here right now. No, I don't have it right now, but I do own a splitter that will split the headphone jack. And so when it comes out, it'll split. I can use that to split the audio to the speakers, and then it will also split it to the little antenna that I can buy to give myself AM/FM again. So that might be a future purchase, but I usually don't use the AM/FM anymore since YouTube and Pandora, Spotify, Google Play Music, so I may not hook it in at all. Okay, this is the final video. It is installed. As you can see, it takes up most of that area back there. It's got the cord coming out for the headphone. It's got the cord coming out for that. It's powered on. I think I may still have to adjust the power settings so it doesn't turn off. Yeah, whenever it goes into standby. But this one, like I said, is plugged in for the ignition. And we hit play. Let's fast forward a little bit. And then when I want to add my bass, so yeah, I'd call this a complete success. It works. It looks very nice. Go to the home. Now take your left hand and put it on your side. And all my apps. So, thank you for watching, and good luck with your adventures.